Hello, this is Mark from My Keys to Music. Thanks for joining me on this video. Today I wanted to do something a little different. This is the Nord Keyboard Trivia Challenge. And this is for those of you who like to play a game to see how much you know about the Nord keyboard that you're either looking at getting or that you actually own. And what I thought we would do here is present 10 questions. Some of these questions are a little tricky. Some of them may be easy. It really depends on how much you know about the Nord family of keyboards, and specifically the Nord Electro 6 and or the Nord Stage 3. These questions are really focused around those two keyboards, although if you own an older Nord keyboard, you may be able to get several of these questions because a lot of this information does not necessarily change that much over time. All right, so that's Nord Stage 3 and the Nord Electro that this particular trivia focuses on. It also sort of requires that you have the latest OS. Some of these things may not be answerable if you're dealing with a really old OS, so just keep that in mind. Feel free to pause the video between the questions. There are 10 questions. As I go through each of the questions, feel free to pause, take note of the answer. In some cases, there may be multiple answers. Then the answers will be at the end of the video. So we'll go through all 10 questions first, take note of your answers, then we will flip that over and go through each of the 10 questions, providing the correct answer and providing why the wrong answers are the wrong answers. And in the end, you'll actually learn a lot more about your Nord keyboard than you previously had, hopefully. And that's part of the reason why we're doing this. We're just making a fun way to learn our Nord keyboards, or just the trivial things. Maybe they're not that important, but they are somewhat interesting. At least to me, they're interesting, and perhaps they'll be interesting to you. Then at the end, feel free to post your score in the comments, or just any other comments you want to leave at the end of this, just to kind of give me some feedback if this is something that was fun, an interesting way to learn. Now, if you want to get some extra credit, take this challenge closed book. In other words, don't turn on your Nord keyboard, don't refer to the manual, don't go to the internet for research, just sit back and answer the questions with whatever's in your head right now. Obviously, it'll be a lot more challenging that way, but in the end, you might remember it better. But the choice is yours. All right, so with that said, let's get started. Question number 1. Which organ model do these labels represent? Now, the labels I'm talking about here are presented on your actual Nord organ engine. I happen to be looking at a Stage 3, but it really doesn't matter. These labels apply to the Nord Electro 6 as well. Now, the labels I'm talking about are this set or this set, but more specifically, this set. These labels here are the ones we're talking about. Now, do these apply to the Mellotron, the B3, the Lowry organ model, the Farfisa model, the Vox, or the pipe organ? So feel free to pause the video now, take note of your answer, and then continue. All right, here we go. Question number 2. The USB port on the back of your keyboard can transmit which type of data? Now notice I said transmit, type of data. Does it transmit the information that the sound manager uses? That's the Nord Sound Manager, where you can transfer backups of your keyboard, sounds, samples, things like that. Or is it the Sound Manager as well as MIDI data? Is it the Sound Manager and audio? Is it the Sound Manager, MIDI, and audio? Or is it just MIDI and audio, or none of the above? So you really have to know what that USB port does in order to answer this question. Okay, question number 3. What does the panic button do? Some of you may not even realize you have a panic button on your Nord keyboard, but you do. It resets the program back to A11 and turns off all the effects. It prevents accidentally changing a program while playing. It terminates the currently sounding notes, including any MIDI signals. It sounds an alarm if the keyboard is played while in panic mode, or none of the above. Question number 4. Nord provides specific system support for the following control pedal types. Choose all that apply. Now, I have to give a little clarification on this question. It's really Clavia providing the support, but when I say Nord, I use that word generically. Your Nord keyboard provides system support. And notice I said control pedal. I didn't say sustain pedal, or any of the other pedals. Control pedal types which are supported within the operating system itself, the ones that you would see listed there. Is it the Roland EV5? Is it the Roland EV7? Is it the Nectar NXP? Is it the M Audio EXP, the Yamaha FC7, or the Fatar SL? And this is one of those questions where there may be multiple answers, so pick all that apply. Next question, question number 5. Setting the MIDI local control to off will persist even if the keyboard is powered off and on. So there's a setting in your keyboard where you can turn, within the MIDI settings, you can turn local control off. What happens if you turn the keyboard off and then on again? That's true or false. So setting the local control to off will persist even if the keyboard is turned off, true or false. Question number 6. The Nord OS version information is available only during startup. Here you see a startup screen when you boot your Nord keyboard. Undoubtedly, you've seen the OS show up there. Nord OS version is available only during startup. True or false? Question number 7. Live mode, which you see pictured here, allows you to store program settings where they will be instantly saved without clicking on the store button. This part is true. I'm telling you that. That is a truth. Here we go. Is this true or false? These settings are preserved even if you turn the keyboard off and on again. The live settings are preserved even if you turn the keyboard off and on again. True or false? Next question, question number 8. The Store As button, also pictured here, allows you to change the name of a program, but not the location of that program. Changing the location of a program can only be done using the Organize button or the actual Nord Sound Manager. True or false? The Save As button or the Store As button only allows you to change the name, but not the location. True or false? Question number 9. When referring to ping pong, found here under the delay area within the effects section, ping pong only works if the keyboard is in split mode, only works if the master clock option is invoked, alternates delay repeats between 2 or more sound engines at the same time so long as more than one sound engine is turned on, causes delay repeats to alternate between left and right channels, will limit the total delay repeats to 2, one for ping and one for pong. Question number 10. The Monitor In feature, also pictured here, allows you to plug in an external sound source, and when you do that, that sound is then available only through outputs channel 1 and 2, or left and right. And the reason I broke that out is because on the stage 3, for example, they're known as channel 1 out and channel 2 out, which you see pictured here. Left and right is what you'd see on the Nord Electro 6. So is this sound available only through those outputs, or only through the headphone jack, or through both outputs and the headphone jack? Only from channel 1, left output, in other words, only one of the outputs, or from the headphone jack and the left output, whether it be channel 1 or the left output. So that's multiple choice there. That's a tricky one. Okay, now it's time for the answers. Take note of your answers and let's begin. Question number 1. Which organ model do these labels represent? The labels we were speaking of were specifically this second set of labels towards the top of your drawbars. Was it the Mellotron? Well, it wasn't the Mellotron because the Mellotron doesn't have any kind of drawbars. The B3 has drawbars, but the B3 labels are actually the ones at the very bottom. The Lari is not correct. It has no drawbar representation here on the Nord. The Farfisa is represented in the organ engine, but those labels are not the ones we're talking about here. The Farfisa are at the very top. The correct answer are the Vox labels. Those are the Vox representation labels for the Vox drawbars. And then the pipe organ is not correct either. Question number 2. The USB port on the back of your keyboard can transmit which type of data? Just the sound manager, No, it can actually do more than that. It can do the sound manager and MIDI, but it cannot do audio. So any of these answers with the word audio in it were null and void the moment we said that. No audio out of the USB. And actually, that's one of the most asked about and confusing things for some people, is that they kind of expect audio to come out of the USB, like it does in a lot of USB-related mixing boards. Audio will be presented there, but not here on the Nord keyboards. Question number 3. What does the panic button do? It doesn't reset the keyboard as far as changing programs. It doesn't prevent accidentally playing or changing a program while playing. It actually terminates all the currently sounding notes, including any MIDI signals. The panic button is especially handy when you are working with MIDI and you've got multiple devices connected to your Nord keyboard and things go awry. Sometimes the buffer gets overrun. Sometimes any number of things can happen. You could be having a sequence being pulled through, and if you pull out the MIDI cable, you could be in a runaway situation, and the panic button comes in particularly handy in those cases, so that the only other way to get around that would be to turn the keyboard off and on completely, totally shutting it down. That's a little inelegant, so panic button was created long ago, and of course that here exists for us on the Nord keyboards. And it doesn't sound an alarm if the keyboard is played while in panic mode, although I can name a number of times where I'd love to put an alarm on my keyboard so that if anyone's messing with the keyboard while I'm on break, I'd hear about it. And then none of the above. Okay. Question number 4. Nord provides specific system support for the following control pedals. This was a trick one. The Roland EV5 is not technically supported, at least visually, in the sound settings, but the Roland EV7 is. The Nectar is not mentioned. The M-Audio is not mentioned. The Yamaha FC7 is definitely supported. I own 2 of those. And then the Fatar SL is also supported. Now, C, D, and A may in fact work with your Nord keyboard. It's just not specifically called out as a system setting or a system parameter you could set to. So although it might be supported to some degree, it may not be supported in all the official ways as presented by Nord. Okay, question number 5. Setting the MIDI local control to off will persist even if the keyboard is powered off and on. The answer is false. It actually will, if you set your local control to off, turn the keyboard off, and then turn it on again, the local control will be back on. So that's something to be aware of. Not a lot of people know that, and that's just one little tiny line in the manual that talks about that. All right, question number 6. The Nord OS version information is available only during startup. That's false and true if you are using an old version of the operating system. A new version of the operating system now presents a new screen. It's the last screen in the system settings, and that last page you'll see information on the OS, and you can do that without having to boot the keyboard to see what version of OS you're running. It's also available in the Nord Sound Manager. If you had the Nord Sound Manager connected, you'd be able to see your OS information there. So kind of a trick question there. Question number 7, live mode allows you to store program settings where they'll be instantly saved without clicking on the store button. That's true. These settings are preserved even if you turn the keyboard off and on again, and that is also true. The live mode is sort of this continuous saving area where you can make any changes you want, and so long as you're in live mode, you'll have those changes saved immediately, even if you turn the keyboard off and back on again. They'll be there for you. The Store As button only allows you to change the name of a program, but not the location. That actually is false. The Store As button allows you to change the name as well as the location. So you can rename a song or a program. You can rename a program and move it at the same time. This also acts as a way of duplicating a program, the Store As button. Powerful stuff there. Question number 9, when referring to ping pong in the delay area, I had fun with this one. And it has nothing to do with split mode. It'll work either way. The master clock, although the master clock could dictate the tempo of the delay, and the delay would then be, ping pong would be part of that delay. So in a sense, ping pong is indirectly affected by the master clock, but it's not only if the master clock is invoked. It does not necessarily alternate between 2 or more sound engines. It has nothing to do with the sound engine. In fact, the delay can only be used on one sound engine at one time, at one panel at one time. So that wouldn't be the right answer. It causes a delay delay repeats to alternate between left and right channels. The ping pong between your left ear, your right ear, your left channel, your right channel. And I had fun with letter E here, which was to limit the total delay repeats to 2, 1 for ping and 1 for pong. Not true at all. Question number 10. The monitor in feature allows you to plug in an external sound source, and that sound is available. My assumption was it was only through headphones, but the truth is it's actually through both the headphones as well as the outputs. Both of those entities will allow you to hear that monitored sound in. So if you're in a rehearsal setting and you want to have your have a device pump your music that you're practicing to, you'll be able to hear it either through the outputs or through the headphone. And the one single channel has nothing to do with it. All right, hopefully you enjoyed that trivia challenge. And if you did, feel free to leave a comment or a like button. Hopefully you actually learned some things that you may not have realized about your Nord keyboard. And I had fun putting this together. I could probably come up with another 10 questions along the way, and I'll keep note of that. Maybe we'll do this again down the road if you like that sort of thing. If you found yourself coming up very short with your knowledge and you actually own one of these Nord keyboards, you may want to consider taking my professional course at www.mykeystomusic.com. I have one for the Nord Stage 3, and I'm working on one for the Electro 6. I actually have one for the Nord Electro 5 already as well. But this is a great way to learn. Everything you learned here will be covered in that course. We have well over 100 lessons for the Stage 3, or getting close to 100 lessons. And I know it's over 12 hours of video training. So we go through every nook and cranny of the Nord Stage 3 and really analyze it top to bottom. So if it's something that you really want to master and understand all the bits and bytes, feel free to jump in and do that. In the meantime, stay tuned for the next video. We've got a lot going on. We're going to be continuing the Discovery series. We're going to be continuing and adding some new series. I've got an interesting surprise. We're going to be sampling a unique and interesting instrument that I've been meaning to sample for a long time. So join me on that. Now is the best time to subscribe. We've got a lot of content coming out. Thanks for watching. I'm Mark from My Keys to Music, and we'll catch you on the next one.